You are welcome to LFN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. Watching the so-called Me Too movement activists who took to Sony Square to demonstrate against R. Kelly demanding that his music be muted will leave you wondering who pays these youngsters and how on earth they think they even know who R. Kelly is at their age. Listening to some of the things they had to say about Robert will either make you laugh or leave you thinking it's them that are actually brainwashed and not the alleged victims they claim to advocate for. At one point their leader speaks about how Sony enabled R. Kelly, citing that he sold over 60 million records, and later contradicts herself when she says he sold billions of records. This can only happen when the speaker was coached prior to the demonstration and she somehow forgets her script while talking. Take a look.
Mute R. Kelly! Mute R. Kelly! Mute R. Kelly! Mute R. Kelly! He was aided by RCA. He sold 60 million albums in his 25-year-long career off of R. Kelly for the past 25 years. They've allowed him to brand himself as the Pied Piper. They've looked the other way while he went on national tours and sold millions of records because they were making money off of it.
After watching this, one is right to say Tarana Burke is indeed the real brainwasher here. She has made it her job to coach young women to take to the streets for a day's pay and push the agenda of her employers, which largely involves targeting successful individuals and helping to push for their takedown, and eventually sending them to prison to serve underserved sentences after wrongful convictions. She has made it her job to do this, and guess what? It's indeed $1 million business for her, considering the people behind her and that have interest in these takedowns are billionaires. She has branded herself well as a mercenary for hire whenever the enemy and target is a successful business mogul or celebrity, and she ought to be stopped. Looking at everyone who stood in front of the camera that day at the Sony Square, each one of them was referring to the Surviving R. Kelly documentary as their motivation for their participation, including one reverend from which church I can't seem to figure out. All they could say was after the 6 hours of the documentary, they were charged up to show up and participate in this protest against R. Kelly. Apart from having watched the infamous series, they had no other logical explanation as to why they were at the Sony Square that morning destabilizing normal business. This makes them just another bunch of young emotional movie fanatics who, after leaving the cinema, they always want to kill the actors. They just can't seem to reason with their heads and know that whatever happened in the movie was an act by multiple talents like the ones who featured in the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries were referred to. Interestingly, one of their selected speakers that day kept smiling while she recited the words she had to say, and laughing from within her like she knew she was lying on R. Kelly but had to do it anyway and get on with the day's chore. More than likely these people were key participants in this for lack of a better job. If they had something more valuable to do that could get them to live the life they dream of, I promise you they wouldn't be with the Me Too. The only reason Tarana Burke is able to get these people taking to the streets and singing the name R. Kelly like he owes them something is for their lack of something else more profitable to do. She is the real brainwasher here, Tarana, and not R. Kelly. If it had been R. Kelly's people on the streets that day, the government would have called it racketeering. But because this was the Me Too against R. Kelly, it's a demonstration by activists. And then there is this one reverend I referred to earlier who was shallow enough to compare the 6-hour docuseries to a courtroom hearing. During his speech he calls the series organized, and indeed it was organized for him to watch and get convinced that it was true, the allegations which were being thrown onto the R&B King. He compared the series to a courtroom, and indeed that is what the series was intended to look like, such that it can seem like R. Kelly had already gone to trial and lost, which was the perfect recipe for prejudicial tendencies towards him.
With watching Surviving R. Kelly, I saw in a compiled way, clear, almost organized way, as if it was in a courtroom, the injustices and the horrific acts that he engaged.
Judging from how fired up these so-called activists were from watching the 6-hour film, how different could the jurors who confessed to have watched the same production have acted? Just as intended, the jurors went on to prejudice the R&B King at trial. It's so shocking how this other woman at the same demonstration thinks by sending R. Kelly to prison for life, black female bodies will then be respected.
Why Why are we in 2019 and black girls, black women bodies are still not valued? Something different has to change, and RCA can begin to make that move for the change to say no more.
This just ain't the solution if at all this problem is only for black female bodies like she sentimentally suggests. We have seen white female bodies all over the internet being abused just like we have seen black female bodies be done the same. So her speech is completely short of research. Like R. Kelly mentioned during the Gayle King interview, there are real victims out there, and these youngsters who claim they want to leave a mark behind that shows they advocated for them are instead focusing on keeping R. Kelly in prison, because some women he took care of just weren't satisfied and wanted more. The last shocker from this Sony Square ambush by the Me Too activists was when one of them cared to mention that R. Kelly acted alone and blamed Sony for enabling him, a statement that showed how detached the Me Too was from the agenda of their employers who were looking to cook up Rico charges in their kitchen and impose them on the R&B king. She almost messed up their plan, but on any case, like every other participant in this unfounded demonstration, she did help the government unfairly take down R. Kelly out of ignorance, but will live to regret it after learning he was never the predator she thought he was. According to Kina Smith, I wonder what some of these so-called Me Too activists, who in the real sense are just a brainwashed team that Tarana Burke employs on part-time contracts to fulfill her sinister agenda, are now thinking, after learning that almost everyone from the surviving R. Kelly documentary was never a victim but a schemer looking to take advantage of the R&B king. Of course they now know Lisa Van Allen was an adult when she met R. Kelly and equally responsible for her own actions. Having learned that even Azriel Clary, who joined the anti-Kelly team later, was only seeking to steal from R. Kelly and that she and her parents lied about her age, I am sure they feel stupid and used. It's a shame to see that these young women and men who could have used their time for more resourceful activities chose to lend it to Tarana Burke, and assist in the takedown of an innocent man who never targeted underage girls as portrayed. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to sasha@lfnmedia@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.